In the summer of 2023, I was invited to visit the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. I spent about 4 hours or so going through the multiple floors and exhibits, and in typical facilitator MD fashion, I just couldn't help but take some pictures, take some videos, a couple interviews with people. It's been sitting in the archives since then. So the following interview and footage is almost a year old, but I figured I'd share it with you. My time at the Washington, D.C. Holocaust Museum. Just introduce yourself. Who are you and what's your position here at the Holocaust Museum?
My name is Abril. I'm one of the regional directors, the Mid-Atlantic region. It's one of the offices in our development shop, our fundraising shop. So in short, I'm a fundraiser.
The Holocaust Museum, been here for decades, touched millions of lives of people who've come through. The imagery is impactful, the stories relayed. It's changed me in my hours that I've been here. Has this museum impacted the world, Americans most likely, because we're here in Washington, D.C., positively? And have we seen, or have you seen, a decrease in anti-Semitism throughout the decades as a result of institutions like this telling the truth about the history of anti-Semitism?
I do think that the museum has had a profound impact, I think, in a couple of ways. One is memorializing this history in and of itself for the people most affected by it is a worthy task. But I also think that at the same time as doing that and honoring the memory of the victims, we're able to impact millions upon millions of people who don't have a direct connect to those families, who weren't Jewish, who have no particular family connection to this history. That too is a great service, because there is something in this history about the nature of human beings for everyone.
How has being involved in the Holocaust Museum changed your perspective on life personally? How do you view what we see in the United States now? Division, demonization of groups, false information, propaganda.
Yeah.
How does being involved in this change your perspective on what you're seeing?
Institutionally, I will say it is incredibly powerful, meaningful that to just use two current references, people walk in this museum that have a family that all have MAGA hats on, and we'll have a family that all have Black Lives Matter t-shirts on. And the best part of both of those is they've all independently chosen to come see this museum. That's the best part. They're gonna take something different away, just the way you and I will take something different away as we go through the exhibition. And so I think that being a part of that is, and being able to help facilitate that and understanding my place in that, which is, even though I have a personal view about certain personalities, it's not my place to impose those on you and color how you'll see this or tell you what the lessons are about how you see this. I need you to do it for yourself and find those kind of areas of significance and meaning for yourself.
Would you say that many Germans who initially may not have had any intention of being involved in this were captured or intercalated within this machine of death because it tapped into a human desire to decide the fate of other humans? Am I reaching, or what do you think about that?
I don't think that I don't think that the reason people were tapped to be involved in a process was because they had a particular quality that allowed them to do it better or more or whatever. I cited for you guys generally, but I'll tell you specifically, Christopher Browning, a historian, renowned historian of the Holocaust, wrote a book called Ordinary Men. And in his research about the mobile killing squads, he summarized essentially that about 20% of the people could kill with gusto. Whatever it was, they could just keep shooting, and they didn't seem to be as affected or affected at all. About 60% of the people couldn't pull the trigger, but they could drive the trucks and guard the prisoners, do other jobs required to enable the whole operation. And then about 20% just couldn't be around it. They had a physical reaction, obviously emotional. They couldn't be around it. So if you think about that percentage, 20% of the population had unknowingly no constitution for this, whereas 20% had the opposite of that. They had they were, whatever it is, I don't know exactly how to describe that.
We have seen this theme. We've seen this where men, some women, people, they get into these positions where they seemingly enjoy the power of being able to decide, live or die, that's my decision.
Yeah. I think probably there's something in all of us where we enjoy power. There's something addictive about power. Now, obviously applied in different ways, in different circumstances, the gravity of the decision that I'm exercising my power to affect can vary. But I think that's probably a pretty common human trait. Now, whether or not somebody would enjoy being able to make a decision about life or death, I think most of us would imagine that is incredibly horrific, to be in a position where I have to make a decision like that. We're talking about the ways in which some of these same ideas and political and also racial beliefs have seeped back into our normal conversation. In Charlottesville, the protesters, the neo-Nazi, the white supremacist, there were a bunch of different groups that banded together. I don't know exactly what category they all fall into, but to me, that's all the bad guys. That's the groups that represent the same kind of belief. But those are the people who are the rabid extremists. To normalize that, because we, in the name of, we don't want to be PC or the anti-woke, that's become a term of many leaders now. Unfortunately, it's good semantics in order to get us around what the real issue is. And the real issue is those guys are advocating for something down there which is just abhorrent, and why we're willing to accept and rationalize why it's okay. It's a tendency that we as human beings have. If it serves my end to rationalize that behavior, maybe I'll do it.
Right.
And I'd like to think I'll do the right thing, but ultimately if my end is the right or the better thing, in my view, then now the justification for rationalization is there. There's lots of comparisons to the Holocaust. Everything is just like the Holocaust, right? Why? Because it's charged, because it puts a big exclamation point on whatever point you're trying to make. And, as we talked about, the comparison is bad because it's both inaccurate and ineffective at provoking any constructive dialogue. My thought process around a question that was posed to me one time with such a comparison to a particular person. The correct comparison is not individual to individual. Is this person like Hitler, or is this action like the Holocaust or anything else? The comparison is, are we, you, me, David, is our whole group, is our community, is our country, are we the same as the German public? Which means, do we have the nuances, the differences, the same motivations, the same variations in what we think and how we think, and whether we're willing to make some of those tough choices, abhorrent choices? to me, we're every bit as susceptible as they are. And to me, that is where you can say, you want proof? Just look at what we're doing now. Look at how I'm supposed to talk to you, you know? Look at what I can and can't do. I mean, you talked about the challenges of teaching your class in the last handful of years. You know, that's changed. So is that the Holocaust? No, of course not. That's not the Holocaust. But is it an earlier step in the process of identification, of separation, of vilification, yeah, I mean, there's shades of that.
Right.
And that's all stuff we do. So it's not about an individual. It's about what are you and I willing to do about it.
Right.
And what are we willing to rationalize? And yeah, I mean,
Potential for repetition exists and persists.
it always does. And it's not, again, it's not just because of a particular political party or a particular, you know, yes, in a moment those things exist, but I just find our capacity for this astonishingly greater than I would have hoped. You got it.